the more you practice, the faster you're going to get to where you want to go.
Even
Yeah,
30 minutes. I mean, you can
right.
get a sketch in or yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I just need to manage my time better. Welcome to Creative Type Podcast. This is episode 20, Creating Habits. I'm Lori Rivera,
And I'm Jamie Haney.
and this is Creative Type Podcast.
Hello.
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 How's your week going, Jamie?
It's going fast. How's your week going?
Fast here too, yeah.
Yeah. They just keep
Not
getting
too bad.
faster and faster.
I know. The older we get, the faster it goes, right?
I know. I got a bunch of stuff planted in the garden yesterday.
Oh, yes,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
It was great
vegetables.
weather
It
for
was
that.
vegetable paint planting time and actually a little late, but we had some late frost this year, so it was a good time to do it. I think it changes each year, but usually if I can have stuff in the ground by Mother's Day, I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
Which Mother's Day is coming up. Well, it will have already passed by the time this episode airs, but happy
right.
Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, including
Yes.
us. Happy
Yeah.
Mother's Day.
Yay.
All right. So we're going to be talking about creating habits in a couple different things today. So what kind of ideas have you got about creating habits?
Well, the habit I've been trying to get back into is painting daily. You know, we've talked about this before a little bit, touched on it.
Yeah.
Around 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was painting every day,
Hmm.
pretty much every day without
Right.
fail. Like every once in a while, I might have missed a day, but it was usually every day. And then
Yeah.
somehow over the past, I guess, I don't know, year or so, I've gotten out of the habit of doing that. And I need to do that again. I mean, I still paint a lot, but not
Hmm.
near as much as I was in 2020. And I strongly believe that we get better the more we practice, like anything,
Oh,
you
sure.
know?
Yeah,
And I
for
think,
sure.
especially too, if you're like working on your style and evolving that, I mean, the more you practice, the faster you're going to get to where you want to go. And so
Yeah,
I've just
that's
really,
exactly right. Yeah.
yeah, and I've just really been slipping lately. Like I said, I want to paint every day. My goal,
Well, well, what is it? What's causing you to slip? Is it just everyday life or
I
what's
think,
what's going on?
yeah,
Why
I think
why is
it is.
it?
I think it's just everyday life. Plus, we started this podcast this year. So just,
Mhm.
I think just life in general, just everything, you know?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's good to be
Well,
busy. I mean, I'm
it
glad
is.
I'm busy.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And I know exactly what you mean. I mean, life just pulls at us all the time. And I keep thinking, oh, as soon as I get this done, then I'll have more time to open up for this other thing that I want to do, like painting or something. And
Right.
it just seems like that there's never a time. There's always something waiting that's going to pop up. So what do you have any kind of a goal here? Are you going to schedule it in your calendar? How are you going to create this to be a habit
Yeah. Well,
or get back into the habit, I should say, really?
yeah. Well, one thing I've been bad about lately, and it probably stems more from this than anything else. Uh, I have the time to paint every day, even
Mm-hmm.
doing the podcast and working a little bit part-time. Uh, you know, I still have time to paint every day. I have been bad about managing my time lately. That's what it
Oh,
is.
who isn't
So,
bad at that? I mean,
you
I think a
know,
lot of us are, a lot of us.
yeah, like if I have, see, I fall into that trap of if I don't have at least a couple hours to paint, then I'm hesitant to get in the studio.
Oh,
Well, but
really?
you can get a lot done in a couple hours, or I mean, like an hour. If you don't have a
Yeah,
couple
or
hours,
even
you can,
even
yeah,
30 minutes. I mean, you can
right.
get a sketch in or yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I just need to manage my time better. That's what it boils down to, I think. You
Yeah.
know, if I have even an hour, just get in here for an hour. I
Yeah.
was listening to the Learn to Paint podcast recently, and there's a whole episode. Actually, there's more than one episode that they have on creating uh, a daily painting practice.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
real big on that. And, um, you
That
know,
was the Learn to Paint. Was that with Kelly? Is that her name?
I
Oh. We'll put
I
that in the
think
show
so.
notes.
Yeah, yeah. Put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I heard on that podcast was even if you had like 20 minutes,
Hmm.
uh, just take advantage of that 20 minutes. So, and 20
Yes.
minutes
Yeah.
isn't very long, but when you think about it, you can get a lot done in 20 minutes.
You can. That's right. And
And it
you just
adds
have to
up.
prep yourself to if you know, hey, I'm going to take 20 minutes to get in the studio, you'll eventually run out of sketching, right? That you'll have to start putting some paint to the canvas. So
Right.
make things easier for yourself. Like for instance, I have that wet palette. I don't think that you use that, but Vicky does
No.
sometimes. If you've got a wet palette, you can squirt out your paint on it and just put the lid on it and not have to worry about wasting the paint because it dries. So
Right.
for me, that is I can come down and, even if I know I've got 20 or 30 minutes, just like you said, then I know that I can maybe work on an eyeball or something,
Yeah.
maybe paint even just the background or whatever it is you got to do.
Sure.
If you have something set up to where you know that you can be productive, then that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Make it easy on yourself. Have
Right.
things set up if you're lucky enough to have a spot. We're lucky. We have studios, but not everyone does. A lot of good artists are still working in their kitchen, they have
Oh,
to put
yeah.
everything away.
Yeah.
So, I hear on other podcasts and just other people talking how, they have tubs with their work and they can easily
Mm-hmm.
take the stuff out of the tub. As soon as they're done, they put it back in the tub and it's always there. Everything is together. And,
Right.
it's all about just making it easy for yourself, I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
in order to create a habit, at
Yeah.
least a habit that we want to form, right?
Right.
Just like
Exactly.
the seatbelts. When I was growing up, and I don't know about you or not, I don't remember when the seatbelt law came in effect. We're in Indiana, so it didn't come in effect, I don't think, until the 90s, right? But in high school, we didn't have to wear our seatbelts. It wasn't the law. It was a good idea, but we didn't,
Yeah.
I never wore a seatbelt until it was the law. And it's just one of those things now. I don't even put the car in reverse
Oh,
without having
yeah.
my seatbelt on. It's
Oh,
just second
I
nature.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just
So I would
thinking,
like to get that way with the painting too, just have it second nature. And I
right.
know that, and when you do it, when you do establish however many days it takes to create that habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does become second nature. And I'm sure that when you were painting in 2020, that was second nature to you then, wasn't it?
Oh, I think
And
it
just
was.
somehow you got away from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
easy to get sidetracked. But I'm thinking too,
Oh
like
my gosh, yeah.
if I don't have like a block of like 2 or 3 hours where I can paint, if I can find three
Mhm.
20-minute sessions in one day, that's an hour, you know? So that adds up.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's
and you
that's
can get a lot
a
done
good
in
way
an
to
hour.
put that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and when we have you and I both have kids and you have, yours is younger, so you're having to go and pick her up from school.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is how I used to be when I used to have to pick up Asher from school. I knew that I had to leave in like 20 minutes. I'm like, oh shit, what can I do in 20 minutes? So,
Yeah.
most of the time I just sit there and waste time. But if you decide that you're going to use that 20 minutes productively, then you not only will you start creating a habit, but you'll feel a lot better about yourself about not wasting or mindlessly scrolling, whatever it is
Right.
that you do. And maybe that habit that you're creating is just to relax before you go and get your kid, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just and then that opens up room for creativity, I think, to having a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of meditation or whatever it is you want to call it, just some relaxation. I just thought of
Right.
something when you were bringing up the Learn to Paint podcast. I think I'm pretty sure her name's Kelly. She just went through a 20-minute, like 20 and 20 is
Oh,
what she called
yeah.
it. Or is maybe
I
that's
think
what
I'm
spurred
familiar with
that on
that.
for you.
Yeah.
And it was taking a daily 20 minutes to work on your practice.
Right, right. I
And
think I
that's what it
remember
is,
her
a
talking
practice.
about that. Yeah, yeah. But I've been
Yeah.
trying to come up
Yeah.
with ways to make myself get back in the habit. Like sometimes the thought of coming into the studio and toning my canvas and then letting it dry, like I just need to get in a habit of like, this is another habit I'd like to create, toning like 10 or 20 canvases at one time. Then I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about doing that
Yes.
as the first step of every painting. I have like a
Oh,
fairly small table that I paint small pieces on in my studio. So I can't, it's kind of hard for me to do that many at one time, but
yeah.
I could probably do at least 6 10 by 10s, tone all
Yeah.
those and get them
Yeah.
ready. Something
And
I'm also
that's a
doing.
that's a lot to get going. Six
It
paintings
is,
at one
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And something else I'm trying to do is, at least if I don't tone in batches, then I'm at least trying to get one toned the night before I go to bed.
Oh, that's a
Then
good idea. Yeah.
then I know I can just come in here into the studio and just start painting right away, because that's the fun part, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes you do need just that easy task. Like if you're not feeling inspired, and we're big on getting in here whether you're inspired or not. I think both of us are,
Right.
and everyone, we need to get in here whether we're inspired or not. So sometimes if you got to come down here and tone the canvas, which isn't terribly creative, but it gets you geared
Yeah.
up, and then you're ready to paint. So I
Right.
find that doing even like tidying up the studio, doing stuff like that, it does. Once you're already in the studio, you're like, oh, well, I'm here. And then you start getting in the mood. I want to start painting now.
Right.
At least that's what I found.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's see, where else were we on that? Was that was that it for the daily painting, you think?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Just I guess I just want to reiterate that I'm trying to get in the habit of doing that, because I really do believe that we get better faster if we get in the habit of painting on a regular basis. And
Oh,
that's
I
what we all
agree.
want,
Yeah.
right? To improve
Right.
our practice and everything.
Right.
So, and
But
become better painters or sculptors or whatever.
on the flip side of that, I mean, don't feel bad if you can't get in there every day. I think if you try to get in
Mm-hmm.
your workspace or studio as often as possible, because a lot of times it's just not possible to get in every day. And then
Right.
some people would think, oh, well, if I can't do it every day, then what's the point? Well, don't be like that. Just get in when you can.
Right.
I think that's
Oh,
important to remember.
yeah.
Rules are meant to be broken,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and
exactly.
don't hold yourself to something that is impossible for you to that's just going to be, you know, depressing if you can't accomplish it.
Right. Yeah.
I
And
know
that
that I
reminds
can't get in the studio every day.
Yeah, that reminds me
What's
of
that?
Lisa
Yeah.
Daria, I think is how you pronounce her last name. Have you heard of her?
I have. Isn't she the one that started the daily painting movement?
I don't know if
Or
she
no, I think it was
started
a guy.
it.
I can't.
I'm not
Anyway,
sure.
I know the name.
But she has painted every single day for, like, I think she's on like 5,000 something days. Over
Oh
5,000
my
days
goodness.
now. She's painted every
Yeah.
day. That is
Yes,
amazing.
that is. Yeah. I remember, I think where she was interviewed in a podcast, and I don't remember which one it was, but she talked about how even when she's on vacation, she
Hmm.
has her stuff and does it. That's dedication right there.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I find it good for me to get away from the painting for a little while.
Oh
It
yeah.
does. I think it for me. I like to have breaks, so I don't feel. To me, that's stressful. When I did the 30 and 30 challenge years
Oh
ago, where you
yeah.
had to have 30 paintings in 30 days, that
Right.
was too stressful for me. And it was not fun. And I did it twice, and I decided, okay, this is it. And I'm not going to do this anymore. Not going to put
Yeah.
that kind of pressure on myself or my creativity, but just leaving it open. And I think you really just have to find out what works for yourself. I'm not a very good rule follower. So it didn't work good for me. But for some people, that's the kind of um, dedication that they need, and structure that they need,
Right.
it to know that I have to get in there and paint for however many minutes or hours that it is.
Yeah. What about you? How often do you like to get in the studio? I know you said you're not really a daily person. So
Right.
have you
Well,
been doing pretty good getting in the studio lately?
Well, I've been better the last couple weeks. I've been a lot better. I know that I can't really do much on Tuesdays unless I've got
Right.
some sort of deadline. Because Tuesdays is my date with my dad. I go and I pick him up, and we go out to lunch and run errands and get groceries. And then by the time I get home and unload my groceries, and it's time to make dinner, and the day is just done. So I know that
Yeah.
Tuesdays are out for me. And also, I've just started resigning, because when you run your own art business like we all do, we spend way, way more than 40 hours a week on this.
Oh my gosh,
If anyone,
yes.
I mean, it is just like 24/7. I'm thinking about it all the time, and I'm sure you are too.
Oh yeah.
But I have resigned to the fact that I'm not going to paint. I'm not going to feel guilty if I can't paint. I should put it that
Right.
way, on Saturday and Sunday. I take those days to work in my garden or just be lazy, do
Mm.
other things that I want to do, spend time with my family, go out to eat. Because, during the week, usually I cook every night. So it's
Right.
restaurants. We're not close to any restaurants. So that's kind of a necessity. But on the weekends it's different. So that would leave me 4 weekdays to paint. And I know that I'm not going to get that because usually having kind of an admin day for
Hmm.
blog posts or
Right.
newsletters. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty good if I can get in there 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah, that's so
That
good.
doesn't even always happen. But now when I
Yeah.
do get in here, I usually am in here for 4 hours or so.
Right.
That seems to be a good amount for me. After that, I kind of start getting brain numb,
Yeah.
but 4 hours does seem like a good time for me. And I can listen to a couple podcasts or some music. Usually podcasts when I'm painting. I've found lately in the last year or so, I really listen to a lot because I'm always trying to
Yeah.
learn new stuff. What do you do when you're painting? Are you listening to music or podcasts?
I'm always listening to music. Yeah.
Always music, yeah.
I listen to podcasts when
I
I'm in the
have.
shower.
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't know how you can do that. I don't know how you can even
Yeah.
hear the
And see,
podcast.
I don't know how you listen to podcasts when you're painting. I just can't do that. I can't concentrate on something else when I'm painting. I have to have something like in the background, not something that I have to actively listen to.
I don't get stuck in my head, it's more free. Whenever I'm painting, I like to use the left brain to concentrate on the podcast. So my right brain, my creativity is more loose and free and it's kind of doing stuff that I don't realize it's doing.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more of a channel that way. Like it's just moving through me and I'm just the vessel holding the brush.
That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it works for me at least. I find that if I have something to listen to, the other part of me is just like on autopilot.
Yeah. And I know some people paint in silence.
Yeah, and I do too sometimes
I have
because,
tried that.
yeah, I'm sensitive to sound. And we've talked about this before,
Right.
at least between you and Vicky and I, because, Vicky's got those yapping dogs, which I
Yeah.
love dearly. Her little dogs are so sweet. However, they bark at a bird flying by. So that would,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that would I don't know if I could handle that. Zoe, my sweet Zoe, I miss her so much.
Oh,
She
I
was quiet.
know.
It was rare that she barked. If somebody was
Yeah.
knocking at the door, that'd be about the only time she barked. So
Sweet Zoe.
I, it, I don't know what I'm sure there's a name for it for being sensitive to those sounds, but I do find myself sensitive to sounds, and I'll have
Yeah.
I have to watch my volume on stuff. I don't can't, and I've noticed that certain podcasts have just awful intro music. I mean, and like the tone of it. And I just have to like fast forward through that. And I won't name any of those because I'm sure it's just a personal thing on me, that
Yeah.
doesn't like that. And there's probably people that doesn't like our intro and outro,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
happen to like ours. But it's the tone. It is the tone. Do you ever notice that? I guess I'm just a weirdo that way.
I can't think of any offhand that just really get on my nerves or that I don't
Really?
like, you know?
Oh, I can think of two right off the
Yeah.
bat right now that
Yeah.
I can't stand.
Huh.
And it's odd that the both of them are men operated podcasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so maybe they picked that out because that tone is pleasing to them. Because like when you're losing your hearing, because I'm losing my hearing, and I notice that there's certain tones I cannot hear, and usually it's male tones, like lower tones that I cannot hear as well. I can hear female voices
Oh.
usually in higher tones.
Uh-huh.
Easier. It's easier for I can hear the lower tones. I just can't make out what they're saying. So
Yeah.
I wonder if that has anything to do with it. And I've heard the opposite for men, that men can generally hear lower tones than the higher tones. Well, wow,
Oh,
this
okay.
podcast has really taken a strange turn, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That's okay. Well, we're just,
Yeah,
having
that's okay.
conversations. That's what this podcast is all about, right?
Yeah.
It's art conversations. I did want to bring up one more habit thing that since we talked about painting daily so much, one thing that I am really good at is I've gotten so much better. Last year, I was not so, that was a goal of mine to get better at record keeping.
Hmm.
And we are holding the three of us accountable. You, Lori, and myself. We're trying to keep each other accountable. At the end of each month, we say, "Keep your records up, everybody. Did you do that?" So I've been really good. Now, you told me right before the show that you've kind of slacked off this month on record
Yeah, I
keeping.
think yeah, I didn't
Does it?
do it at the end of April. I think the
Yeah.
last time
Does
I
it?
did it was like towards the end of March. It wasn't the end of March, but it was like maybe the middle.
Okay. Well, you're not
And
too far off. So you
yeah,
can,
not too far.
and you just sold a painting today. So, or was that
Yeah.
yesterday? So that's an incentive to get those records up to date. Yeah. So congratulations on selling another abstract painting.
Thanks.
That's good. All right. Well, I guess that's all we've got for today, unless you had something else that you wanted to bring up.
I think that's about it.
Oh, I did want to ask you one thing. Is this helping you with the three of us keeping each other accountable for our record keeping?
Oh yeah, but did we remind each other at the beginning of this month? I don't remember if we did or
We were
not.
supposed to be doing it at the end of the month.
Oh, at the end of the month, yeah. Did we
Yeah,
do that
I
at the
think
end of the
Vicky
month?
did.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
she did
Vicky did.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I
Vicky
just
said,
haven't done
"Hey,
it. It
yeah,
seems like it takes me forever to do all that. So it's like I want to know that I have at least like an hour, half hour to an hour to sit down and go through all that, you know?
oh, really? Oh, now see, I find now that I've started doing it, it makes me feel so good to know that I've got it up to date because, oh my God, come
Yeah,
around tax time, it's just like a nightmare. So
I know.
I'm feeling really proud of myself. Every time, like I had to buy some copy paper this week at the grocery store. Well, not the grocery, Walmart, whatever, with my dad.
Yeah,
And as soon as I got home, I took that receipt and I wrote on there because, it's usually cryptic, what that stuff is. So I wrote on the top copy
yeah,
paper and I opened my little open office and I typed, put in my expenses, copy paper and the date and the expense and all that. So it felt really good. And it took less than 2 minutes to do that.
yeah.
So I think if you can do that every single time, and I sure as hell would be putting in my uh, income each time I sold a painting.
Yeah,
Shoot, yeah.
that's interesting because I used to be like that. I used to record every receipt as they came in.
Yeah.
Every revenue, every expense, I would
Mhm.
record it right away, even if it was just one. And then now I just do it at the end of every month. I find it easier to just do it all at once.
Well, but I guess you have to find your stride, right? Find that
Mm-hmm.
that's now become a monthly habit for you instead of a
Yeah,
daily habit. So, and if that works and you don't start falling behind like you already have, right?
right. Exactly. Yeah.
And, we do have to find what works for one person doesn't always work for the other. So we'd have to remember that. Just find what works for yourself, especially when habits are, don't feel bad if you can't do daily painting or even, record
Right.
keeping. So
Yeah.
just find what works for you and then make a habit around that. As long as it's not a bad habit, right? So
Yeah,
we don't
right.
want to get rid of the bad habits, waiting a full year to record all my mileage. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a bad habit that I've had for the last 10 years. But I'm going to be better. Here, it's May, the middle of May, and I haven't done any mileage yet. So that's on my list of things to do as soon as I have some free time,
Yeah.
which is never right, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up now. Uh, what do you think?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for listening to the Creative Type Podcast. We so appreciate that you take the time to listen to us. And if you don't mind, take the time and give us a review, a written review, or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is you listen to your podcast. You can find us on YouTube where you can watch us talk and all the crazy hand gestures that I have. And usually Lori has a really cute shirt on, but today it's just kind of boring, just
Yeah.
gray.
Does have a little pink on
Oh,
it
you got a little
though.
pink on the bottom there.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, find us on YouTube and also we're on Instagram, Facebook, and we have behind me, if you're on YouTube, you can see the merchandise that we have. Lori, did you ever order that apron?
Not yet. I still need to. You're gonna have to get on to
All
me for
right.
that.
Well, you need to create a habit here. Of
Yeah.
procrastinating. So we have aprons. We have aprons too. So you can help support the show by buying that. And we appreciate it. And if you do, we'll give you a little shout out. Oh, also, I wanted to say, because I think I forgot this last week, but we are in search of suggestions and ideas for an upcoming lighthearted podcast that's going to talk about artists in movies and even books, right? We're going to open it up to books.
Right.
But yeah, so if you know of a movie that has an artist as the main character or we're a close second, sidekick or whatever, give us a shout out to our email address, which is creativetypepodcast@gmail.com. And all that's going to be in the show notes. Just give us either, it doesn't have to be a review, but if just ideas, and we've gotten a few in already, so that's kind of exciting. Once we get enough, we'll do the podcast on it. And I think I can see this being an open podcast, is because if more people send stuff
Uh-huh.
in, then we can have another podcast about that. Because I don't
Right.
know about you, but I love to watch stuff like that,
Oh
documentaries
yeah.
or even just movies.
Yeah.
And so
And and also
thanks for
if
listening, and oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and also if you have any show ideas or if you have just any questions you have at all related to art, send them our way. And a lot of times we'll take one question and make a whole podcast out of it.
That's right. And we'll give you a shout out and a link to your website or wherever you would like for it to be sent to, your social media or website, however you want that. So we appreciate it, and thanks for listening. We'll see you next time
Yeah,
on the
thank you.
Creative Type Podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That's the outro. That's my little outro.
Yeah.